So I've been getting a lot of requests on the comments on the podcast that people would love to have a live show that they can interact with us. Mattteo, what are our fans called?
The bots.
That's right. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to do the Inkpulp Podcast. Oh, yeah.
Nah, that sucks.
And it's going to be on December 27th. At 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have a live podcast that all of our bots can interact with us on, and maybe we'll have some special guests pop in.
Because right before you came on, Shawn, there was a sunlight shining right on Shawn. And I said, what is that? Where is that coming from? He's like, dude, can I tell you? Humberto is such a huge influence on me when I was coming up as an artist that I practically stole everything from him. So Shawn, you can
suck his dick now.
Yeah.
There you go.
No.
Yeah. This is the Inkpulp Podcast. Go Mattteo. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
What an asshole. Right on. Like it's rare that the level of prestigious guest comes on, right? We have a couple of like guests that were our friends. I like to call them trash guests, you know, like the guys that you bring on. But there's few and far between that somebody who's as like celebrated as historically in his body of work as Humberto is. And the first thing you do is put on your
he's
weirdo.
His light shines really strong, so that's why I had to put sunglasses on.
That's right. I love that. And
We
I'd
have a
like to
star
point
here.
out that this is... We do. We have a rock star here. But Mattteo only puts his sunglasses on his eyes during the show.
Yeah,
Outside
that's
of
the
the
only
show,
moment.
never.
So it means that
He never wears...
really matters and it's important.
Why did you emphasize eyes just now? Like you just said eyes, like he puts it on his shoulder.
Because he
when
wears
he's
his
not.
sunglasses on his head. That's it.
Yeah.
I quit
That's
this
all.
fucking show.
That's all.
Humberto, good luck. I'm going to go. These guys they're responsible for you now. All right, listen, jokes aside. Thank you so much for being here. This is episode blah, 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 because we don't do these things in order anymore. Shawn, thank you so much for having us. Me and Mattteo are always happy to be here, but not just because of you, but today most specifically because of our esteemed guest and colleague. Can I call Humberto our colleague? Yeah.
I think
Mr.
so, yeah.
Humberto Ramos.
Let's say friend. That's
Friend.
Oh,
I like
whoa.
that one
Oh,
better.
whoa. Shit.
Big
Oh,
words already
shit.
here. Oh my God.
Do you see how excited they get? It's because nobody, even between the two of them, they've never called each other friend. You know?
Really?
Like they don't-
Wow.
No, they don't like each other. They don't-
No, we call each other brother. Brother.
Well, that's even better. I like that.
That's awful. Okay, listen, I'd heard, Humberto, that it's been a while, and I'm confused by this, so you need to confirm, okay? I'd heard that number one, you'd been listening to this show, and that number two, you were genuinely interested in coming on. And I want to ask you, is that true? And most importantly, like, why? Why do you...
Can I add a third thing?
Yeah, sure.
Can I add a third thing? And why are you friend with Eric? Which is the most important thing, man.
How important that is.
Yeah, I listen the show because I when I work, I try listening to things that are fun and go with me through the day. Mm-hmm. And yes, I wanted to be here because it was a lot of fun. So I wanted to have a little bit of it. So that's the reason why. And yes, I'm friends with Eric since from a long time ago. Yeah,
I'll tell you a small little story, and I have not forgotten this because it's so incredibly humbling. I went to Mexico for a convention, and I remember I was I don't know if I was a featured guest, and if I was, I'd question the organizers, but I was a guest, and they had me on stage. And they were the crowd was asking questions. My Spanish is mediocre and poor at best. And I remember they were looking for somebody to translate, the questions to me, and an intern translate the answer back. And I don't know if it was done on purpose or if the plans had fallen through, but I remember Humberto did it. So here's how surreal my life is, right? Humberto Ramos, who has done so many projects, in the history of comics, it's so much so that I'm at a loss as to which one to highlight first, but the one that sticks near and dear to my heart is Crimson. But here's a guy who has had so many notches on his professional belt, have helped stand up all sorts of franchises. And he took the time in his evening to translate for me. And I've never forgotten that. So I want to thank you years and years later.
Yeah, Eric, it's called being a generous person, but of course you don't know about that.
I'm very not generous. I'm the farthest thing from generous. Like if I spoke Italian and Mattteo did not, I'd be like, good luck finding somebody else, man.
Well,
Anyway.
what is this nice side of Eric? I don't know this side.
It's being gracious to our
guests. Mattteo, have you seen this
He's
before?
being gracious to somebody.
Well,
finally.
that's the only side that I know from Eric, to be
Look at
honest.
that.
Yeah.
You guys can go. How do I kick you guys out? Do I still have that power? I can just interview Humberto on my own.
Here we go.
All right, listen. There was a bit here, and I'll give you some behind the scenes stuff that was happening, Humberto, as we were about to go live with you, maybe 45 minutes ago. There was a small panic in our internal chat. They were like trying to get organized. What did we talk to Humberto about? What do we? Oh my gosh! What do we ask him? Where's our starting off point? What's our game plan look like?
Completely changing the reality. I was just asking. So, is there anything specific that you wanted to talk to Humberto about it, or did Humberto tell you that he wanted to talk about something specifically? That was a simple question.
Yeah, it wasn't just Mattteo, mind you, but I could read between the lines. There's a lot of panic and fanboying, and
Really?
There's no panic. Definite fanboying. Fanboying.
And then
I see myself as the ultimate fanboy. I have like I'm like the fan with the best luck in the world because I get to be friends with my heroes.
He's talking about me, by the way, guys. I don't know if you know.
Actually, yeah. Actually, yes. I do. Yes, I have a long list of heroes, and Mattteo is between them. So yes, of course. So
near the bottom.
I mean,
right.
I know nothing about comics. That I can tell. I know nothing about comics. I enjoy drawing them, but then when people ask me about comics history and that kind of stuff, it's like I don't really know. I just like drawing. I'm a fan, and I grew up reading them and loving the drawings. Mostly, I like the drawings. I do care about stories, of course, as any other comic book fan. But I'm fan of the artists. That I should say, yes.
So Humberto, do you still
you're saying
buy the books? And are you still buying books? Because it's something that we recently discussed about, because we wanted to try and buy books and read and discuss about them, because in this last few years we'd lost the habit of doing it. Oh yeah.
But do you have this one?
Not yet. But I'll get it soon, because now Panini Comics is got the DC license here in Mexico.
Nice.
And their editions, as you, Mattteo, should know, are really nice. So yes.
Oh yeah,
eventually
absolutely. Panini is basically buying everything. Like we have it in Italy too, and they used to be only the exclusive for Marvel stuff, and now they bought DC rights as well. So basically, they own a huge chunk of the whole Italian comic book industry. So it's it's weird to hear that they're doing it in other countries as well.
Books. Nice. I have books you can't see, but I have a 2 stories bookshelf.
Wow.
And it's filled of comic books and art books and sketchbooks. And as I told you, I love the artists, and that's pretty much what I collect. I do buy the books. Now it's easier to of course to download them from the app and that. But then I buy them because I like to have the thing,
the actual
book,
product
the paper
in your hand.
Yeah.
Yes,
Totally.
yes. It's
Humberto,
what I do.
What helps you? Because it seems to me, just through your work and through seeing you, you're very excited every day about getting to draw still. What helps you maintain that excitement so it doesn't feel like a job and you lose that joy?
I think actually both. I do understand and see it as my job. So that keeps me being committed and professional, because I know I'm part of a team, and my commitment to my project is in the best interest of everybody else included in my team. But also it's as I told you before, it's pretty cool to be drawing, because I love drawing and get paid for it. So I can't think of a better job than this, honestly. So yeah, I'm the guy who wakes up really early. Well, as early as it gets. Like I wake up like at 6:30, something like that, and then actually anxious to start drawing and trying to go to the
awesome.
job to the day. Yeah. So I think that what keeps me excited about the job every day, because I just love drawing. And I try to get better. I mean, I honestly wake up every morning and I have a ton of reference around me. I get to see my friends and heroes work every day, and I get angry at myself because I'm not that good, and I try to improve myself every single day.
What does that mean for you? Hold on.
Go ahead.
What does that mean for you, Humberto? At this stage in your career, what feels like you've been working as a professional now going on 3 decades more, 30 years?
Yeah, okay. 30 years. Wow.
Yep. That's a good chunk of time, and at the beginning, your legacy from where you started, I think it was the first time I became aware of your work was it Impulse? Yes.
Yeah.
There was actually a little before that. I started working in the superhero industry, in the U.S. industry in 1993. Actually.
Holy cow! Okay.
My first published job was a book called Blood Syndicate with Milestone Media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I got to be the regular artist in the hardware after Dennis left the book, because he has higher obligations with Milestone. Mm-hmm. And I was part of Milestone for, I don't know, about a year, 2 years maybe. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, I started working. I did this Steel Annual. I think it was 94, 95, maybe. I don't know. At that time, I could work two books a month. So I was doing my regular Milestone book, and in the morning and the evening, I was doing this Steel Annual. It was like 50 pages or something. Wow. It was an Elseworld book, and it was about the Civil War. And while I was working on that book, what's the name? 0 Hour event was happening.
Oh, sure.
At DC Comics. So Tom Grummett, who was was drawing 3 books a month at that time.
Wow. Shit.
He was doing Superboy, one Superman book, and the 0 Hour book. Mm-hmm. So he had to leave one aside while he was doing that project. So he had to leave Superboy aside, and they asked me to fill in for two issues. I did that as I was doing my milestone work, and after I finished those two issues, one of them actually became pretty popular now because after the Suicide Squad film, with the shark guy, Nano, well, that guy, the King Shark.
King Shark, yeah.
I actually had to draw the first appearance of this guy when I was doing Superboy, so it became really popular again. And well, I finished my two runs, my two books with Superboy, and it was the time where 0 Hours was ending, and this character appeared in that storyline called Impulse. And they wanted to have a monthly book based on this character, and they offered me the job. So for the next year, I was kind of working 2 books a month.
Yeah, holy cow!
Impulse.
Do you think
Tales.
you would still able to do that
Mattteo, I'm
nowadays? Okay, sorry.
I was following up on something, right? I said 30 years ago, this is where your career started. Here you are 30 years later, right? You were talking just now about still learning, still getting up and being very excited about the stuff that's going to be in front of you. You're still enthusiastic to be an artist. In 30 years, right? 30 years later, what is it that's in front of you that you're like, I still want to learn this. I still want to, is there a target list for you? Is there some kind of a to-do list for you to say, I still want to learn, or does it just come to you during your week?
Oh yeah, I have a list.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
I would like to draw. Okay, let me put it in terms of artists. That would be easier.
Yeah,
I would like to draw storytelling as Stuart Immonen does. I would like to draw action sequences as Jorge Jimenez does. I would like to draw this crazy elongated perspective as Eric Cañetti does, or Jake Jacinto does as well.
He's good.
I would like to draw as beautiful as Olivier Coipel does, or Mattteo Scalera does. Mattteo Scalera. And be dynamic and exciting as Sean Murphy draws.
Sure.
And be exciting and outstanding as Joe Madureira draws. And the list goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So they're
fascinating.
more
I can put it-
aesthetic, technical goals than actual. I would love to draw that character or make a movie out of my story or stuff like that. It's more artistic goals than technical career goals. Let's call them that way.
I'm just the guy who draws, and I love drawing. So I would like to get better in that subject. About career goals, as you said, I think I hit my career goal years ago, and it's not that I don't want to have more bigger goals in my life, professionally speaking. But when I first started 30 years ago, even more than 30 years, when I was just the kid who wanted to be in comic books at some point in his life, my goal was to be the artist on Spider-Man, on The Amazing Spider-Man. I wanted to be that. And I got there, and I was really happy there. And I will go back, any second if they ask me to come back, because I love drawing Spider-Man.
Wow.
And but about the other thing that is pretty pretty common now that everybody wants to create their own book and make it big and get a, I don't know, it's a movie deal or a TV show deal from it. I wouldn't say I'm not into it. I won't like, if it happens, it'll be great.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't happen,
it's not.
I really
what
don't mind.
drives you.
Right, exactly. I like what I have. I like my life. I love my life. I tell my wife when we go to places like Como, as we did this past May, Mattteo.
Yeah.
And see the people that I being really honored and lucky to meet through the years, and being friends with them, and have this, let me put it this way, luxury life, luxury life to me, maybe to some people with real money will say, come on, what are you talking about? It's like being able to fly to places and know places, and even for a couple days, I don't know, it's not that I stay like months after the show ends and stuff. That I wouldn't think of flying and meeting and knowing cities and countries when I was a kid. So to me, this is pretty cool. It's a way, or my way of saying luxury life. But then I come back home and I have my what I call my little life. I'm just a guy. I have a bunch of friends from university, and I see them every week or every other week.
Nice.
And they don't give a shit about who I am.
Sure.
They don't
Same
care,
here, brother.
They don't ask.
Same here.
They don't know, and I love it. It's my friends from life.
Yeah.
They don't.
I gotta tell you, even my girlfriend doesn't give a shit about who I am. So I hear you.
Well, none of us give a shit about who you are, Mattteo. To be honest.
but Shawn hasn't met my wife yet. Well, you met him briefly now back in New York.
Yeah.
But Mattteo knows Fernanda. Eric knows Fernanda.
She's amazing.
And I love that part of my life. Like when she started being my girlfriend, then my wife, and she really likes being with me. When we go to shows, when we go to conventions, I tell her, I'm not gonna get to meet the city where we are invited to, because as you guys know, and people maybe don't know, but this is the real thing. This is how it works. We get to the airport, then the hotel. Pretty much it's late at night because, there are like stops and whatever. Next day, the show starts. The show starts at around 9:30. And I'm there all day long. I'm not the guy who wants to be like 2 hours signing and then whatever. I'll stay because I get that's why the show invites me to be at, to be committed to the people, to the fans, because fans, they arrive at different times. So I want to be there for them. So I stay there all day long. Then around 7, whatever, it depends what time the show ends. I'll go back to the hotel and then try to get someplace to have dinner. And that's it. I'm not a party guy. I don't like doing that because I know the next day I have to do the same thing early in the morning. And so when the show ends, mainly Sundays, I get to go sleep. Maybe that's the day that when I can be more relaxed because most of the shows they end earlier on Sundays. Yeah, but then Monday morning I go back home and back to work. So there's actually zero time to be a tourist unless I specifically ask the people who invite me to the show. It's like, okay, can you let my ticket back home open for a couple of days so I can actually go and meet the city.
Yeah.
So I like I love actually that she prefers to be at the show with me. I know all you guys because you guys are all awesome. And that's pretty cool. I can't explain you how cool it is to go to all these conventions with her, and knowing she doesn't need me anymore at shows. She has her own thing. She has her friends.
She's
people who are really more. Yeah, yes, there are more interests on talking to her than talking to me. So I really love that. So yeah. So this is my little life. This is what I like.
Just so you know, since I brought my girlfriend this time in New York, and so her plan was not to, come to the show, to go and visit the show. But on Saturday it was raining, and so she decided to take shelter in the show. And so I saw her, and after like an hour, maybe 45 minutes, she came back to my table. It's just like, I'm never gonna come here again in my life. I hate this fucking shit. You're never gonna see me again. I'm probably gonna be flying to New York with you again, but I'm never gonna see this fucking show anymore. It's a fucking nightmare. I hate it. Okay, bye. See ya. And she left. Just to give you an example of the differences between people.
Yeah, it happens too. But
Well, Mattteo, you took her to the Wolves Den. New York is no joke.
Yeah. Well, originally, as I told you, the plan wasn't that she would be at the show. So, it's just because it was raining. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Let me go back to the earlier part of the conversation when I said there was like a mild panic because you were coming and they felt really disorganized, right? Near the beginning, I think this is before you hit the link and joined us, Shawn was in a tizzy. I've never seen so everything that you're saying right now, Humberto, like you love your life, right? You love your home. You love the fact that you have your small little life, and you conduct yourself as a professional. Historically, you've eased into the ambassador of Mexico. I remember people talking very, very highly of you when it comes to being a premier guide, the people that represents that version of art for your country. That's amazing. But I took a look at Shawn just now, and it was dark, right? It was like as close to black and white and French film noirish as possible. It just showed to me that Shawn had no idea what you were talking about. Happiness, being content with their job, existing on a level of professionalism. And there's the reason why I bring this up, because right before you came on, Shawn, there was a sunlight shining right on Shawn. And I said, what is that? Where is that Smurf sunlight coming from? That fake
Smurf.
Yeah, but it's like manufactured. It wasn't real to me. You know what I mean? It was synthesized. It was a cartoon. And I said, where is that coming from? He's like, dude, can I tell you, Humberto is such a huge influence on me when I was coming up as an artist that I practically stole everything from him. And the first thing that I said was, well, you should give him a lot of money because it's clear that you wouldn't be as far along in your career without him. So Shawn, you can
suck his dick now.
Yeah.
There you go.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Let's do it. Eric's absolutely right. When when I got out of college and was ready to go full steam to try to be a comic book artist, I discovered your work. And the first thing I saw was Impulse. And it just spoke to me. I saw, and I'm curious about where you see your style coming from. I came from graffiti art, animation, and I liked cartoony stuff. So I just copied you. I copied you over and over and over, and for years. When Crimson came out, when Deviate came out, I that's all I wanted to do was I wanted to be Humberto. But I remember when I went to grad school and I realized I was just copying someone, I had to learn my own tools for drawing shapes and stuff, and I got away from that.
That's where it
But
all
I've
went to
always
shit.
your work. Yeah, that's where it all fell apart. If I go back to copying you, I think I'll have a career. I think we just figured out my problem.
But that's a worthwhile question to follow up on, right? Like stylistically, and let me add something to that, Shawn. I remember Humberto made his way because it was such a distinct look, and it was an era of people who were coming into the industry and they had a look to their body of work. At some point, it was sort of like that wasn't as valued anymore, right? But what Humberto was doing was, number one, have a style, and number two, deliver month in and month out. For crying out loud, 2 books. Mattteo tried to follow up on this earlier, which is, could you do that again, right? But the other thing that I wanted to highlight was, at some point especially when you hit Spider-Man, and I remember hitting this wall myself, the fan base was just like, this is not appropriate for Spider-Man. So there was a transformation in your artwork. I distinctly remember going like, I remember Crimson. I obviously remember Deviate. But at some point in Spider-Man, there was a maturing of your art that became Spider-Man appropriate. And I thought, like, there's a thinking that's going on here. There's a conscious effort on his part to go, I need to switch it away from what got me here, but still stay true to the stuff that I was doing. Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, well, when I first started, as Shawn just told about my work, and I thank you. I appreciate your words. I'm sorry about giving you all of the bad advices with my work, because I never thought it was that good. But I was following Art Adams' work, as many other artists. I think every generation has a pillar where we who we follow.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's say the cliffhanger generation.
Yes.
The cliffhanger class, meaning Joe, Madureira, Jeff Campbell, and myself. We followed Arthur Adams' work a lot. And I remember when there was this magazine, maybe you little kids, that you don't know this magazine, but Wizard.
Hell yeah.
We know Wizard.
They tagged us as anime-manga style, or American manga or something.
I remember this, yeah.
Yeah.
And they say we were influenced by manga. In my case, it wasn't that way at all. I do like manga, some manga. I like some anime. I don't follow close the books and the artists and stuff, but I did follow Arthur, and he really liked manga. But so if that worked for them, then I was influenced by manga because I follow Arthur, but I really wasn't really into that. But then Joe and Jeff, they were as well. So I get to know some books and artists from them than from my own research. Then so I kept drawing like Arthur as much as I could. I never got to be as good as he is. And now in San Diego, we share a booth.
Yeah.
And every year, when first day at the show, when I first see him on Wednesday evening, I hug him and I thank him because he would never understand how important he was for my career. I mean, like, I don't know if you remember this book, the new Fantastic Four book. He drew.
Oh yeah.
With the Ghost Rider and Hulk and Wolverine and Spider-Man being the new Fantastic Four. Written by Walter Simonson, who I really owe him a big chunk of my career as well.
That's awesome.
And and I remember seeing this beautiful Spider-Man, and and that was the time that when I thought I want to do this. You know, I really need to find a way to get into this business, to get this job. That was the book that make me think of it. I mean, I always like drawing, and I drew and doodle, superheroes on my books and sketchbooks and that. But until that day, I really didn't know this could happen for me. It was a different time. I was in a different country, and there wasn't a lot of chances to think of breaking into this business. So then, when I got to the job and start building my own style, suddenly it happens. It's not something that I like overnight happens. I was trying to evolve and get better, and with trying to get better, you start like seeing different other artists as well, and taking little chunks of every other artist and getting your own thing. Then I met this amazing Argentinian artist named Carlos Meglia.
Oh,
yeah.
And I was like, I was in awe, from his art, and I decided that was the thing that I wanted to do next, or try to be as close as I could. So the best thing I could do was to meet him. So I call him on the phone, because at that time we call people on the phone, and it was years before internet and that. So I was doing Crimson at the time, and Scott Dumbier, the editor on Cliffhanger, he told me there was a chance to do a single issue, a spin-off from my series, because we were doing this many issues. We did an amazing source book with all these amazing artists. I mean, now when I go back to that Crimson source book and I see the names on that book, I was like, I don't know how we get these people to be in this little book, but I was thrilled.
Sure.
Like from Jim Lee to Mike Mignola to crazy Travis Charest, all these guys, and so they asked me, okay, you can choose whoever you want to do this book. I think in Scott's words, it was implied that I was going to pick somebody from the Wallstorm crew, because they had these many artists. Yeah. And I was like, really? Anybody I want? Like, yeah. It's like, okay, there's this guy in Argentina I really like. Like, okay. So he told me, if you can reach him and he wants to do the job, that's great. So I had a friend in Mexico, an artist as well, an Argentinian comic book artist who lives in Mexico now. His name is Lucas Marangon. He's run a lot of work for Dark Horse, and he's really Star Wars related artist. So I called them because, well, you're Argentinian, Juma, you should know him. And he said, well, actually I don't, but I know a guy who might know him. So so he gave me this phone number. So I called this guy, and he gave me the phone number.
It was basically LinkedIn before the internet.
Yeah, exactly. So I finally get to Carlos Meglia's phone number, and I call him, and I was really nervous, because he was working mostly in in Europe. He was publishing already Cyber Six, and
Yeah. Amazing book,
it was
by
really
the way.
popular. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was like, these guys who work with on La Bande Dessinée and on the European books albums, they would never be interested in working in comic books. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot and see what happens. So I call him and I tell him, my name is Humberto and I work for comic books in the US, and he's like, "Oh, you're the guy from Impulse." And,
Nice.
and I'm like,
Oh, shit.
Wow. That's awesome.
and
That's awesome.
and we started a friendship, a deep, dearest friendship that ended when he sadly died, and so we became great friends. I love him, and I got to work with a guy that I really admire, and next I get to be his friend.
Yeah.
And so I changed my style a lot because I wanted to look like him, because
wow.
that was how much I admire him. And that's in that time I got to work in a Spider-Man related book, not the Amazing Spider-Man, because I always knew that was the top of the hill, the Amazing Spider-Man. But I started working on Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I did this amazing story with the Green Goblin, written by Paul Jenkins, and I had that style, that Carlos Meglia's influence style, that Joe Quesada liked a lot, and Axel Alonso liked a lot, but Bill Gemas didn't like it all. So at some point, really, really soon, he's like, "Man, I don't like this guy's style. So if you wanna keep drawing on Marvel, you have to change." And I was like,
Wait,
That's
you
weird.
actually
Shit,
heard
so
that from your
they
publisher.
actually asked
If
you to change the style. Shit.
"Yeah,
Wow.
yeah." So I remember having a conversation with Joe Quesada, who I admire and I love a lot. And I told Joe, I remember when you first called me back to come to Marvel, because at that time Joe and I had worked together on his company, Event Comics.
At events, yeah.
And I drew this series, Ash, Cinder and Smoke, and Ash and the 22 Brides. I did these two stories with them, and so when we talked, he being the CIA, right? CEI, whatever, the chief editor in Marvel. I told him, you call me back to Marvel because you like my work, and now somebody wants me to change my style to be at Marvel. So I'm gonna put you in that position, because I knew that Bill Gemas was above Joe. So it's like, let me go free, and I have no problem with you. So I understand that what he wants, I can deliver it, but I don't wanna. I'm not gonna have any argument with you, because I love you and respect you. So I'm gone, and I left Marvel, and then that's why when I started to really look for a new, more mature maybe style, and I did this book with Dark Horse called Revelations. A book that has nothing to do with superheroes. It's a more supernatural, religious, crime book. And if you go to those pages, to those books, you'll see that I had this Carlos Meglia influence style a lot, but then I tried something different, and the whole book is just pencils, like really.
I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And through that process, I changed my style, and so when I came back to Marvel, I kind of understood that if I wanted to play with the big toys, I wanted to find a new voice. And as I told you, my goal since day one was to get to the top of the mountain. That to me, for me is the Amazing Spider-Man, and that's when I really start reaching out for that book.
Yeah.
Now, I remember a lot of what you're saying. I remember like the industry at this time, because that's when I was breaking in. There, like I when I was first trying to come in, I was really looking at the cliffhanger guys like you and Joe, and when I got my work to a place where it was almost professional level is when I remember Marvel saying no cartoony art, and you were like the only person there doing it. And I had editors say, I can see you can draw. If you just draw realistically, I can give you a job. But A, I didn't want to do that. And B, I don't think I could do that. So I always look to you as like that North Star, like just keep going, keep doing your thing and keep going. But that was a strange time. I didn't know I didn't realize that it affected you to the point where you had to leave Marvel for a little while and then come back. I just thought you had a job pull you away, and like, so to hear that was I guess the question I'm asking, and the big question I want to ask you, was if there's any advice you can give, because you've built your own lane in comics and at Marvel. I mean, Humberto's lane is yours. Any advice on how to do that, or things that have helped you do that along the way?
I think everybody has to build their own path. I don't, when I talk to people in the industry, they have different stories on how they get into it, and how and why they keep doing what they do. As I told you guys, my life is really simple. I'm a person who's thankful for everything he gets. I have no agendas. I have no double intentions. I just I'm happy with what I get, and luckily, what I've got is great. How can I say it? The first time I went to San Diego, was the second year. I was with some friends, and people know, people who've listened to my interviews at some point, they know that I don't like Superman at all. It's a character that gives.
I agree with you. I feel the same way.
But I have a friend at that time who loved Superman, loved him, to death. And the San Diego convention was a different convention in 1993. Mm-hmm. So you actually had time to walk around and see things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was this panel about the return of the Superman, or I don't remember the name, but it was a panel about the four characters that came from the death of Superman, Superboy, Steel, and the other two guys that are okay. Mm-hmm. So he wanted to see that, and so he had nothing else to do. So we went to the panel. By the end of the panel, this guy, my friend, he was really outspoken. So he went to Mike Carlin, who was the editor on Superman at that time.
Yeah.
And he went and said, he's like, I have my friends and myself, and we have portfolios, and can you take a look at it? Again, it was a different time. So actually they did it, like the big names had time to be with you. Yeah. And so he sat down with us and he started going through our work. And I think he gave me one of the most important advices that I ever got without trying to give me an advice. So it was four of us, my friends and I. And on that panel, we had Tom Grummett and Dan Jorgens and John Bogdanov, Jackson Guys, everybody, all the big Superman names at that time. And he pointed at them while he was checking out our portfolios, and he said, if I had to hire you guys, I will have to fire one of them. Mm-hmm. Are you ready for me to fire one of these guys to get you to do a book? Are you there? And that's a pretty cool way to say you guys are not ready yet.
Yeah.
But it's the nicest way possible to put that out. So we were doing that, and John Bogdanov came down from the panel, and I think he was curious about what was happening, and he sat down with us, and he was the nicest guy ever. He explained us things. He went through every single page, and by the end of it, he told us, "Come with me." We were in the second floor on the San Diego Convention Center. Mm-hmm. So he went down with us, literally take us by the hand, and brought us to Walter Simonson.
Sure.
At that point, I've never met him. I mean, I know the name, of course. Mm-hmm. And John and Walter are really, really good friends, like close friends. And he introduced us to him, and we were like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he said, these guys they have pretty cool work. So can we help us? Can we help them? Mm-hmm. And again, Walters are working that, and they both, and let me put it this way: John Bogdanov and Walter Simonson. Yeah. They both they took us, by hand and took us down to the Milestone Media booth, and they went to Dennis Cohen, and they went to Don McDuffie, mm-hmm. and they say, "Please see these guys work." Okay, so these two guys talk to these other two guys,
yeah.
and they talk between each other and to let us have a window, a chance. Mm-hmm. I can't explain it. It was pure luck, and we were in the right time, in the right moment, and we happened to meet pretty nice, well-hearted, cool, amazing, great artists. But mostly great people. The four of them.
Yes.
So we sat down and they went through our work. They saw us four portfolios. And when they went through mine, they told me, Dwayne asked me, have you gone to any other portfolio review? And I told him, yep. And he said, what they told you? Like, well, some liked, some told me that there's stuff that they like on my portfolio and come back later, come back next year. They gave me, the business cards and the whole thing that they did. And then he said, okay, go to nobody else. I want you here.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's how my career started. So I wish everybody would walk the same path as I did.
Yeah.
Because it was the way to start a career, in between these big names. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember being as happy as I could and going back to John and Walter and tell them, I have no way to pay you guys what you did for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
And John being the smart, clever guy he is, he said, yes, you can pay me. And I said, okay, tell me what can I do? Like, do the same thing for the kids after you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
That's
people
great.
will come. And that's the thing I've done since, when somebody approaches me. That's why I never say no to a portfolio review. Most of the kids that I see at shows, they are not ready, and they know that, But I think they deserve to have this time,
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I owe them, because somebody gave me a great advice and that helped me a lot, and that's what I want to do back
In
for
return,
them. So,
yeah.
So maybe there's no a thing that I can advise people, Shawn, as you ask, on how to walk this path, on how to build a career. There's I can say there's a recipe. I could say the common things that be professional, be educated, be nice. CB told me once, well, there's three things that you need to have for being a professional artist. If you have two, you're there, So you have to be really, really talented. You have to be a really professional, or you have to be a really nice person.
Yeah.
If you have two of them, you're there. If you're a professional and a great talented artist, it doesn't matter if you are. Well, it does matter, but that doesn't matter that much if you are kind of a jerk. You will get there. You will get job because you are that good. If you're a nice guy and really professional, maybe you are not that talented, but that good.
That will
that's
get
good
you
enough,
there. Yeah.
For sure.
And I really want to believe that I have three of them. Maybe not. I'm not that really talented.
No, stop.
But I work.
So clearly Mattteo is the asshole. You know what I mean? Like the three things Mattteo doesn't have.
That's what I lack.
The nice guy.
Actually, the intention was nice, was to say, no, you're talented, so shut up.
Yeah,
it wasn't a dicky way. It was said in a really, really obnoxious way, but the message was nice. It was a message of love.
Let me put it clearer. I know I have enough talent to be in this business, and I've been here for 30 years. I know what I'm saying. But again, remember the list that I gave you earlier when we first started? Mm-hmm. I know, and you can't change my mind on this. I'm not as good as all these people that I mentioned in the beginning. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not that really talented. I'm not Bill Sienkiewicz. Mm-hmm. I'm not Oliver Coipel. I'm not, well, okay. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But I know I have the talent. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you guys are trying to break in comic books, try to be the tree about it. It's not that hard. It's actually pretty cool when the time goes by and people comes to you and like you. Mm-hmm. If you ask me, I will humble answer that I prefer that people likes me than people admire me. Mm-hmm. I like my friends like you guys like me as a person.
Yeah,
because that is what is the real thing. My work, you can see it on books and don't give a shit about me. Mm-hmm. I don't want that, honestly. Yeah. I want to have friends and I want to be cool to people and when they see me at bars or at the end of the show and that they say, oh, it's nice to see you, Humberto, and not like, oh, here he comes, like pretend we didn't see him,
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Like everybody does with Eric, for example.
I was about to mention, like, everything that you talked about just now. Clearly, you are a standout, not just as an artist, but obviously as a human being. So I have to ask the same question that I asked the beginning part of the show, which is like, what are you doing here? You're like what are you doing on this podcast? Like Mattteo just spent 3 minutes knowing you, telling you to shut up for, in a weird game show host kind of way, right? Shawn sets you up with a question that could potentially go, like, you basically in the kindest Humberto way possible told Shawn, there's no stupid formula, for there's nothing that you can do to get to this other than be prepared in the opportune times by having a good portfolio, meet a bunch of people completely by accident who have a belief system into your work, and we'll be happy to show it around. So my question goes back to the original thing, which is like, you're too nice and too good and too kind to be here to hang out with like 3 jerks. But thank you so much for making time for being here. If there's a big takeaway that I can get, obviously outside of just like be professional, be good, be kind. The other one is, it's hard to circle around the things that you did that you seem to say, hey, I fell there by accident. I met Mark Carlin, who in turn introduced me to John Bogdanov, who then in turn introduced me to Dwayne and to Dennis. But I really think there's something to be, if you were to strategize around that. Number one, every single person that you met in that space knew what they were talking about. So if there's something that you can circle to go like, hey, what should my actionable, what should my game plan be if I'm going to a convention? First of all, look for the people who know what they're talking about. Right? It's not to diminish all the associate editors and all the people who are in the orbit of these offices, but there's something to be said for people who are in the position, CB included, whomever else, that you can look at to be like, they've brought on people and they are currently associated with a bunch of people who know what good looks like, and therefore they establish that bar. Secondly, and I think you hit upon this about 15 minutes ago, which is like, be good enough to be competitive. You don't have to be the best, right? The best isn't ultimately the best will come, and who knows what that looks like later, right? But have stuff in your portfolio. To Carlin's point, I think it was like, if I hire you, I want to get rid of one of these guys. But if you read between the lines, he's saying, is there something in your portfolio right now that could potentially be the thing that dethrones these guys in their position? And you have to have an idea of what that looks like. And ultimately that falls on the artist who's looking to get in those positions, which is, by contrast, be humble, but obviously take a look at your body of work and go, yeah, I think I could be competitive in that field. Because again, with Dwayne, with Dennis, with Mike, they know what good looks like. Right. And they wouldn't have put you in those positions if you weren't at all competitive. right? And I think we need more of that in the industry today.
Facts.
I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember
Absolutely
my first portfolio review. It was a year before that, the one that I told you about. Was my first trip to San Diego Comic Con. It was 1992. It was my first trip out of Mexico, actually.
Wow.
It was my first trip alone. I'm a family guy, so I was always with my family, with my mom, dad, my siblings. So it was all new and exciting and scary all together. And I really wanted to be a Marvel Comics artist. And I really wanted to be the Spider-Man artist. And I have no perspective and reference on how good or how bad, or even if I was good at all. I was good in my circle, and I knew that. I mean, it was in my little, my mom lost my word,
Sure.
But I really didn't know how what that means in the real professional world. So the first day of San Diego Comic Con, I went to the portfolio review just as the show started.
Yeah.
That time, it wasn't like it is today. Like, you go to a panel and they give you like outlines or how to do that, and then they give you like tickets or done, or you just do the line. That's it.
Yeah.
And you stay there as long as it takes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it could be like 1 hour. I mean, depends on how early you get there, of course. 1 hour to the whole day show hours. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
and so I did that, and I was okay. Where's the Marvel desk? Oh, here. Okay, so I sat there, and I was with a lot of other kids, and that's the first reality check, because how we were all waiting, just start talking to the people around you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you start showing your work around the other people, and that's where you actually know, like,
Yeah,
wow,
you're already start having an idea.
Yeah.
or wow, I'm better than I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So you get a little perspective. So that really helped me a lot. So when I was doing the line, I was like, oh, I'm not ready, but I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
I was like, let's see if I'm lucky. Right? That is a lucky strike.
Yes.
So the first person that I show my work to, his name is Tom Brevoort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom happened to be at that time the editor on the Spider-Man books, and he saw my work and he told me, I like your work. You have talent, but you're not ready. He asked me a couple of things about my life, where I was from, what I was doing at the time in life, meaning it was if I was working or studying. And he said, go back home, kid, finish school, because I told them that I was in university. Come back next year and show me back what you can do. To many people, this could be a total failure, to me, it was weird because I felt really happy. Because this guy from the Spider-Man office, the editor of the book that I wanted to work at, he told me that I didn't suck,
Yeah.
that if I work more, if I try really hard, I might get there.
Yeah.
And I have 1 year to make it happen for myself.
Right.
So I came back home. I worked really hard. I finished school. I try to, find out ways to improve my style and my storytelling and my techniques and stuff. Again, there was nothing but, getting a couple books. Of course, the How to Draw Marble.
Sure.
And a couple more books that I had that I could get down here in Mexico, and keep working and drawing pages and that, and that's how the following year I went back to San Diego and I went to this panel and
they told you suck. Go back home.
Yeah. and then I went back to the marble desk because in my mind, in my head, I have this appointment with Tom Brevoort.
Okay, yeah.
Because he told me he was waiting for me.
Yeah.
And he lied. He lied. He wasn't there. And but then that's when I got my job. So this book will be announced. They told me it would be, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But without giving that much, I can tell you that I'll be doing a Spider-Man related book. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm back at Spider-Man.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
That's awesome.
Congratulations,
That's
man.
awesome.
And it's not just Spider-Man. What is happening with this book is gonna be really fun. I hope for the people who like
Spider-Man and Batman.
Well, I
and Spawn
through the pandemic, and when things were going south to everybody, and that I sent an email to Marvel saying, like, guys, maybe it's time to do that back.
Yeah.
People, we need heroes. We really need to feel that that's a better side of us all together. And so I gave this speech on my email, trying to bring back the Marvel and DC worlds together. It didn't work, of course, but I would love to do that. Honestly, I mean, I'm always been a Marvel fan.
Yeah.
But I respect a lot DC Comics.
Sure.
I owe DC a big time, of course, and I would love to do that again at some point. I hope things would work that way, and we can share a little of us all together. I mean, not just us artists, but companies and corporations, and all these things that happens way above us. I would love to happen again for the people, because we are fans, above all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Humberto. We're going to cut it in such a way where we're talking. We're going to put this part in the front, and then we'll get to our interview. All right. Thanks, man. I'm going to hit the stop button.
Thanks, brother. Thanks a lot
for coming.
Great.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This is the Inkpulp Podcast. This is the Inkpulp Podcast. Comics, hip hop, life.